to start transcribing. Thank you so much for doing that, but Marty. Right. I'm going to start, and I'm pretty sure people will join now. Now, Taylor, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, and you?
Yeah, we're strong. We're very strong. Right, let's have a glance at this together, guys. So you'll see that in the exam brief, they gave us 6 questions. I've left out 4 of the questions because I've seen them previously and they've had exams on. It doesn't mean that those specific cases won't appear, but for me, I've done the priority cases. There are a couple of rules in terms of this, guys. Our approach is very different, and I've been doing this for multiple years, and I'm pretty good at predicting what will be in an exam. However, I do not have an accurate crystal ball. I've got more a snow globe than a crystal ball. So the process that we suggest has worked over time, but ultimately, and someone last year said to me, oh, they only studied what I said. Ultimately, you have to study everything. But we try and prioritize. Thank you for catching my joke, Marty. We prioritize essentially the important bits, what you study first, what you study last, and then the bits that we don't address, which is everything else. You still have to study everything in between. But I've become very good at predicting these questions, but it means absolutely nothing. You still have to study everything. Right, so I'm going to look at the non-negotiables. So these, if I wake you up in the middle of the night, other than saying to me, why are you in my bedroom? You need to be able to answer questions on those specific 7 elements there. So this is the non-negotiable. This will be shared. Everyone will have this, okay? Everyone will have these 2 bits of documents that I have. So the first non-negotiable, be able to do a pestle analysis. Make sure that you've got the pestle details sorted in your head. I don't know, and remember, I'm not, as I'm talking, I'm thinking I might want to share something with you guys. Let me just see if I can find it rapidly. So I'm pretty sure you would have seen this one with me previously, but if you want, this is a wonderful outline of looking at pestle. And what is nice about the pestle bit here is you can literally start by writing government policy is pro investing in green energy, for example. Political stability is uncertain because of the multi-party arrangement in South Africa. So all of those there, I don't know if anyone wants that. I think I have shared it with my students a couple of times, but I will share it again. For me, this is the best way to look at pestle. It's the best way to remember pestle, and it's a wonderful summary. You can look and read through your slides, and I will make my slides available. My slides are fantastic, but I also know that Em and the other ladies' slides are very, very good. But if you want my slides, you can have them. Anyone who's ever used my slides will tell you that they are very, very good. So I'm quite happy to share my slides. You just need to tell me whether you would want access to them. Let me just do this, and I'll just give you an example of what my slides look like. So my slides have significant detail. I essentially summarize the textbook. The one thing that I know about my slides is in any assessment, whether it is an assignment or an exam, you trust my slides. So I'm very happy to share this with whoever wants it. I'm very generous with my slides. If you want it, let your supervisor, you can see I'm also looking after honor students being supervised. Let your lecturers know, and I'll share those with you as well. Morning, Louise. How's it, Theorin? So if you need these, let me know. But I know that the other lady's slides are very, very good. Okay. So this one as well, if you want it, let us know. I'm very, very happy to share those. The second one that you have to do, which is again a non-negotiable, I'd be very, very surprised if you do not see this in the exam, is the pestle analysis. So we know in terms of the pestle analysis, it's Porter's No, sorry, I can't talk this morning. In terms of the five forces analysis, it's Porter's five forces, and you'll look at those elements there. I'll be there in a second, and you can see the detail there. No problem, Louise, whatsoever. So there are the details. Remember, competition in the particular industry. We also look at power of customers or buyers, power of suppliers. We look at substitute products. We also look at, oh gosh, and I can't remember the other one. There goes any validity that I have in terms of my PhD. I don't know which one that I've left out. Oh yeah, it's new entrants. So have a glance at that. It's a market tool. So, and yeah, I misspoke with the pestle. Porter is an industry analysis. So it's in the market environment as we've always known it. Pestle is in the macro environment. And that is essentially the two that are non-negotiable here. So again, if you want my slides, please let me know. As I've said, I'm very generous with this. The other one that makes an appearance every now and then, but I'm struggling to find examples of how they could ask this question, is the creating a mission statement or assessing a mission statement. So whenever we think of mission statement, we automatically do default to, not that slide, we automatically default to Learning Unit 3. And you'll see here that in Learning Unit 3, these criteria are often important in terms of the mission statement. So again, another non-negotiable. I just need to find it. And it's these criteria that they believe essentially are important in terms of an exam. So have a glance at those. Those are also very important. How's it, Ethan? So just have a glance at those, non-negotiable as well. So far, the three non-negotiables are those there, being able to do pestle, being able to do Porter's five forces, an industry, a market, environment analysis, and a mission statement. The other one that is a non-negotiable is this one, shared value, and they love asking this. And the two case studies that I've selected does lend itself a little bit towards shared value. Please make sure that you know both elements of shared value. So it's that one there, redefining productivity and all of that stuff. Very important that you have a glance at that one as well. Then tests for assessing an organization's strategy. Again, one of those that is non-negotiable. They love asking it. And I can't remember offhand where I'm going to find that. So test for assess, yeah, the appropriateness and those elements there, guys. So yeah, guys, I can't remember where they are. The feasibility, appropriateness, attractiveness, etc. I'm off. Can't remember which learning unit they're in, but that one is also a non-negotiable. Sources of competitive intelligence. Absolutely love questions around competitive intelligence. It is learning unit 2. And we know that, no, it's not learning unit 2. It's learning unit 4. Yeah, it's slick as having a dive bomb straight into tar this morning. My apologies. They love asking the sources. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, so they love this kind of stuff here, the sources, aspects that we focus on. Um, Yeah, so the sources of competitive intelligence you can also look at. And then capability life cycle, and I've included that in my set of questions as well, and dynamic capabilities. Remember, founding and maturity and decline or something. And then dynamic capabilities, we look at the ability to constantly renew and refresh yourself. So the non-negotiables that you need to be able to answer in terms of every single one of those exams, every single one of the case studies that have been provided are those there. Any questions at this stage? Asking you guys to ask questions because I'm trying to drink some of my coffee. Everyone okay with that? Non-negotiables, those that I've just discussed. What we do then is we take the two case studies. Now, I've had a glance at these two case studies, and in my mind, these are the two case studies that are likely to be selected from. And for each of those, I've set up a set of questions. Please make sure that you're able to answer every single one of these questions when you prepare and get ready. These are the questions that I would always study first and last. The bits that's left out, you need to study in between. You still have to study in between, but these are our priority questions. My belief is that you will either get this case study, the ShopRite one, or you will get this case study. And I'd be very surprised if it's not one of those case studies. And in terms of these questions, however, you need to be able to answer these questions in terms of both those case studies, but also in relation to, well, last year, for BMNG7321, I had a 70% accuracy rate. For BMNG7322, I had a 90% accuracy rate. So, there is no other way to say you still have to study everything, but these are, for me, what I believe to be the hot tips in terms of this. And remember, I analyzed trends over, goodness me, 15 years of questions to arrive at these. However, the cases are not very clear in terms of what can be asked. And also, we've had a significant update in terms of textbook. So I don't know how much from the new bits in the textbook they're going to ask. So again, for me, the non-negotiables in terms of that one, outside in, inside out approach. If you don't know the outside in, inside out now, you should go and ask for your money back, because we've discussed this at length. Inside out, the resource-based view, where you use your resources. Outside in, where essentially you track market trends and you base your strategies on that. Yeah, tests for a winning strategy. Let me just find this because I'm irritating myself. Tests for a winning strategy. Somebody find those for me quickly. Hold on, I'll find it now so that I can show you. All right, so it's Learning Unit 1, and it's these bits here, guys. Test for a winning strategy, goodness of fit, competitive advantage, performance, and then if you are in a developing nation, social impact, etc. Again, important to be able to answer each of those. They might not ask you all 5, but they might ask you the one as it relates to a developing nation, because this is a company in a developing nation. So have a glance at the tests, know them off by heart. And then stakeholders, for me, these are the Poncella questions, guys. So they love asking questions around stakeholders. In terms of the Checkers case study, at least, there is some significant evidence that you are likely to run into these in the exam. So there's a lot of evidence in the actual case study. So in terms of stakeholders, we are looking at, oh my gosh, is it Learning Unit 2? Yeah. So in terms of stakeholders, they love asking this question. For me, these are freebie marks. But the truth is, I've seen this question asked multiple times, and people still don't know who the stakeholders are. If you're at this level and you don't know the stakeholders, you shouldn't be at university, to be honest with you. And key in terms of this, guys, remember, you need to tell us in terms of the theory who the stakeholders are, but also take extracts from the case study to show us that you know where to find in real life those examples of stakeholders. This is one of those that they absolutely love using. I despise the question because I do this for businesses or used to do this for businesses, and I've never ever seen it used. But a stakeholder map, or the so-called stakeholder map, this is one of those that they throw at us. It's that guy there, stakeholder map. Please have a glance for page 56, and it is it's figure 2.1. Please glance at that one. Again, I hate the question. I don't think it should be here, but they love asking it. And again, in terms of the Checkers case study, there is some evidence that this is likely to appear. Guys, and then just shared value. I've already discussed that. Boyo, can I drop my number? Rather, I get billions of emails a day. And if you WhatsApp me, I'll shove it on WhatsApp. Okay, Boyo, 7572. Okay, there it is. But I'd prefer that I share these with M and with Kim and with, I can't remember the other girl's name, and you guys get it from them. But yeah, if you want it, I'll put this on WhatsApp. You might need to just give me a break because I'm going out after this. The other one and remember, so here, the idea of shared value and need to be able to discuss that. Balance scorecard, another non-negotiable. If I look at trends and patterns over time, remember, it's the way that we give life to our mission statement and turn it into strategies. And you remember that it has a finance, a customer, internal business process, and a learning and growth component. Yeah, and then competitive intelligence. And you can see here, it is the CI cycle. They absolutely love asking the competitive intelligence cycle. In terms of competitive intelligence, in my slides, I think it's this guy here. And the cycle is somewhere here. Strategic CI cycle. You can have a glance at those as well. Again, an NB, and you need to be able to answer these. Also, in terms of data sources, that is an important question. I think I might have shown the wrong ones previously. And then external environment, your pestle analysis. I've discussed that at length. So you need to be able to do a pestle analysis. A question that I believe should be asked and has been asked, but not often, are those key success factors in an industry. So we will be looking at and that's the macro environment. So I don't want to look at the macro environment. So it's these here. Key success factors, those non-negotiables that in order for you to compete in a particular industry, you need to address those. So you'll see there, in terms of the key success factors, be able to answer those, whether it's the criticism about key success factors or just how they decide whether you can compete within an industry or not. Right. And then the other bits and pieces that I would look at, Porter's 5 forces. To me, this and pestle are your Poncella marks. And can I tell you, people will mess this up. I cannot believe that you can be in third year and not know the pestle factors and not know the Porter's 5 forces. Guys, and then resource-based view. So here, this would be the last learning unit. So it would be learning unit 7. In terms of learning unit 7, it's the internal environment. So they will ask a question on the resource-based view, but you've already addressed elements of it in terms of looking particularly at it from an inside-out perspective. But in the last learning unit, it is discussed in greater detail. So you need to have a glance at that as well. Again, in my mind, non-negotiable. So the resource-based view, because they have to ask a question from each of the learning units. And yeah, the resource-based view is somewhere in here. Yeah. Also, you have to study everything. You'll see that I've looked at this particular theory in terms of the second question because it lends itself to it a lot better. Um, Okay, so the resource-based view. Yeah, and as I said, another non-negotiable was this guy here. They love asking about that kind of life cycle, the fact that the world changes very quickly, and in order to survive, you need to update your capabilities, and dynamic capabilities, obviously, allowing you to stay relevant in the environment. So resource-based view. And then, yeah, resource capability. It's the VRIO framework, the VRIO framework. Now, this is the one that was added recently, but a lot of the questions from checkers lends itself naturally to VRIO. The Rio framework, valuable, rare, and then also the idea of not being able to imitate it, and then also the way you organize it in terms of the maximizing what you can get out of your resources. So Rio, I just need to I've got a mistake here. Idiot. Right. And then capabilities, and you'll talk about three types of capabilities. They've asked this multiple times as well. The three types, Control F, let me just find it for you guys. And it's these, the threshold capabilities, those without, if you don't have them, you don't compete in an industry, the things that make you special in an industry, and the things that allow you to refresh and reinvent yourself all the time. So that is the first set of questions. I know that it's very long, but I think the reality of those questions is that they can appear in terms of any of the case studies almost, but this one I've made for checkers. Please do me a favor, just remember the non-negotiables first. The second case study that is likely to be here, and if this is not the exam, it will be the supplementary exam, if that makes any sense. So the preparation for the supplementary exam stays the same. Okay. And then, yeah, so strategies and game plans. So what we want to achieve, it's often about just keeping Apple relevant, providing for customers, and making sure that they remain dynamic from an innovation perspective. The 5 Ps of strategy, they've always loved asking it, but they haven't asked it in a while, so I'm a little bit reluctant to include it, but I do not know what they will ask, and that's the real reality in terms of that. The 5 Ps of strategy, there they are. You guys, you should know these off by hand now. Yeah, plan, possession, and then perspective. And you can also remember ploy and pattern, where we have this sort of this distinctive pattern of doing business in a particular way. And then, guys, when we look at that, I believe if it's Apple, you're going to get inside out because of their technologies, because of their ability to innovate, because of the phenomenal people that they have working there. And then also balanced scorecard. Again, there's elements in there that naturally lends itself to balanced scorecards. And then, yeah, strategic direction. Yeah, when I read, and I think there was mention made of strategic intent, remember it's based around the Japanese principles of being the most competitive, getting in the ring, WWEing with anyone who wants to fight with you. So they often compare themselves against their main rivals, but everything they do, every decision they take, every time they allocate a resource, it is about winning inside the organization. If they're going to allocate a budget to a team, it is the team that provides the most winning option in terms of the organization. Pestle put in non-negotiable, Porter's non-negotiable, guys. And then the one thing that also stood out for me in this case study is the idea of how important complementars are, or complementaries. So a phone is a phone if you don't have the apps, but what makes a phone really useful are the apps that you're able to use in conjunction with that phone. So if you have those apps, they act as complementaries. And then, yeah, that's it, Marty. In terms of those complementaries, those apps give life to your phone. So the ability to compete depends on people writing apps within your platform. And I've left this one as well because I think this again lends itself to it, the dynamic capability life cycle. So those are the key elements in terms of what we need to look at, guys. Follow my strategy. The other thing that I need to discuss is this, and I recently marked my Pietermaritzburg students' tests. So we don't have two assignments. We have a test and an assignment, where online you have two assignments. And the one thing that frustrated me immensely is how some people don't get the balance between theory and application right. So they'll either write application or they'll just write theory. If we look at the rubric, and this is heck of important for us, and it will open in a second. My apologies. So from a rubric perspective, if you glance at the last bit here, key is to look at, first of all, the balance between the marks in terms of theory and application. Some of these go up to 10, 15 marks sometimes. So you have to integrate application with theory. So make sure that you give me stuff, and I'm talking to my class, obviously, but Em and Kim, also stuff that you give people stuff that we can work with from a theory perspective, and then go and find the right bits of application from inside the case study. You'll see for every single one of those, we need to look at that balance. And sometimes it's more balanced in terms of equal marks, but generally it is more weighted in favor of application. So if you get stuck, just hoist some application stuff in there, guys. The other thing to remember is there are 10 freebie marks in terms of making sure that you get your structure right. So introduction, conclusion, and that you write reasonably well and it looks reasonable in terms of presentation, that you're able to connect theory and application, that you provide us with sufficient evidence that you are able to not just write theory, but you're able to substantiate in terms of extracts from the case studies. This balance is hell of important. You cannot forget that in the exam. You need to knock it into your head in terms of your exam prep. That is our approach. So if we had to summarize, the first one is study the non-negotiables. Be able to answer those non-negotiables in relation to each of the case studies. The second one is look at those suggested exam questions, work them out, figure out the answers, go and find the application, because you have 1 hour to do a heck of a lot. Make sure that you're able to answer each of those questions. I believe those are the two case studies we'll see, but there is no guarantee whatsoever that those will be the case studies, right? There is no guarantee whatsoever. And then make sure that when you write this, you get the balance between theory and application spot on. Okay, I see I've got a second page of people. Leia, how are you? Caden, you're typing there. Who asked? Nomasanta, you know what? There's not ever going to be a word count in an exam. So the rule is answer the questions and make sure that if 4 marks are allocated in theory, give us 4 points that we can allocate marks for, 4 main points. If there are 6 marks in terms of application, give us 6 main examples. That's what we want to do. Sometimes we're able to allocate 2 marks per example. So all you would need are 2 or 3 examples. So it depends on what it says. Ulrich, go for it.
So is the online exam also 2 hours or just an hour?
Oh shit, sorry guys, it's 2 hours. I'm an idiot. It is a 2 hour exam.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm not allowed to say shit on YouTube. So when this goes on to YouTube, so I'm sure I'll be banned. Okay, yeah, shucks, guys. It is. I'll have to edit that out and say shucks. Yes, absolutely, Caden. You've got to make this look good. You've got to make it look presentable, the paper. And all of this happens in terms of your prep. All of this happens in terms of your prep. So please, please remember that. Any other questions? Thanks for that, Ulrich. Your lecturer, as you know, is a bit of an idiot. I proved it again. It's a pleasure, boy. Guys, if there are no questions, that's us for this morning. This is not a major, major thing. It takes a bit of prep and work. When is this exam?
The 27th.
Okay, so that's late. Please make sure that if you are going to write on this Duga system, and I don't know about the alternate, absolute pleasure, Mace. If you are going to write on the Duga system, please, please make sure that you've got your nonsense together prior to writing. Last year, my students wrote on it, and it was a fiasco. They didn't get their log on right. They couldn't get on. One of my students who worked for Varsity College kept WhatsApping me for help. They then suggested she was cheating, and then she got flagged for cheating, and I see she's repeating a module. Please make sure that you get this nonsense right, guys. If you're writing online, get and watch the recordings. Make sure that you see the recordings, because I promise you this is stress that you don't want to have on the morning itself. Okay. I'm going to stop recording. Go for it, Ulrich.
So I saw we have to get the Daga ready for today. It's our last day to do it today for the business, to say if you gonna write online and if you're going to go onto campus, then you have to put in a motivational letter as well.
Thanks for that, Ulrich. You see, I stay away from the admin side of things, but that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Boya. Marty, it's an absolute pleasure, and I dig your name, Boya. I dig your first name. Okay, guys, if there's nothing else, I'm going to call it quits. I will hang around for a second or two if you want to chat about something.